Hey there, I just wanted to do a quick little tutorial video about weaving in the ends. I just use a long or a larger darning needle that has a big eye. And then I just take all my little tidbits and weave them into the existing fabric of the same color so that when it felts down, all of this will be incorporated in and pretty well invisible. I'm also going back and forth over my heel seam to make sure that's super secure. And so I'll use my tag ends, if you will, to just kind of go back and forth and secure that back heel part because that will get quite a bit of wear as we all slip our clogs on and off and on and off. So I just kind of go back and forth a while, 2 or 3 times, and then when I'm done and I think I've secured that as much as I need to, I don't really tie any knots or anything. I just weave it on down, and when it felts and mats together, it will secure itself. So that's kind of how I do with that. And then I just trim this short. Normally I'll do this, trim it on the inside, but that's all right. Not a big deal there. What I'm going to do with this kind of loopy, loose business here at the top is I'll take this little end here. Let me turn this inside out so you can see. I'll take one of these, probably this one since it's longer. Get that going. And then I'm just going to go in from from right to left, and I'm just going to draw that in. Whoops. There we go. I'm just going to draw this in, and I'll probably kind of loop that around a little bit to take up some of the slack. This is not like technically challenging or really anything technically about it. I just do what I think looks best at the time, and so I'm just kind of sewing that up tighter is basically what I'm doing here. And it is, it's awkward and weird. But again, it's not going to matter when all that's felted down. You won't even be able to tell that I've monkeyed around with it. So just go and do all of those. Get all your ends taken care of and trimmed up. Let me pause there and show you something. This is getting too short for me to really thread through the needle and then be able to turn back. I just thread my needle in first. Somebody showed me this. It probably seems obvious, but I didn't think of it. So, as most clever things, somebody else has to show me. I don't usually think of clever things all on my own. Maybe you do. So, hopefully. Okay, so then you just feed that through a little bit, and then you've already got your needle in there. So, there we go. Shazam. And trim that off. Okay, what was I saying? Oh, let me get these other two little tag ends woven into the corresponding colors, and then I'll show you how I sew up the sole. The pattern, I think, recommends or says to sew it up at the end. I like to do it after I'm done with the first sole because I think it's easier to access that. I think it's a lot easier to access the inner sole and go ahead and stitch that up than it is to do it all at once at the end. Do what works best for you, and after you've made a few pair, you'll determine what your own preference is. So, okay, now this one's long enough. I'm just going to do this little. If you look at the back side here, we have this little section of just 4 or 5 rows, and then it turns and goes that way for the sole. And I've got this connected here, and this is pretty long. So I'm just going to use that small tidbit to stitch together these first 4 or 5 rows. And so I'm going to just do a mattress stitch from one side to the other because, I do not sew well. So I just want to secure that pretty easily here. From left to right or top to bottom. There we go. And then I'm just going to go back up with it and then weave this the rest of the way into the gray section, and then I'll just trim it off. Pretty straightforward there. Okay. All right, so on this one, I'm just gonna start, I like to kind of lay it out, and so that I'm matching up. You can see how you can match up stitch for stitch, left to right. So those are the purl bumps, and you can just make sure that you're going, matching everything up so that it's straight. This is a little bit challenging for me to do on camera because I usually kind of hold it on the table or hold it in my lap to make sure that I'm stitching this up on the corresponding sides. And I don't pull it real tight. Again, just, kind of snugly. But yeah, it really is that simple. Now, I just, you don't have to go every single row. You're just going to want to make it secure. It doesn't have to be every single row or every single stitch. Obviously, I'm going to need a new bit here. So the way I'm going to secure this is by just weaving it in and out of a different row. Here, I'll show you. If I can get that back in without making a mess and splitting it up. Okay, so all I do here is I go up to this next row where all the purl bumps are, and I just weave it in and out, in, out. It's pretty simple. And I go a few inches up, and then I just pull it all through and trim it off. And I'm going to attach the new piece the same way. So you can see where I ended up here with this. So I'm just going to come in back here, in, out, weave my way up. Okay, and I draw this through. There's going to be a little bit of a tail there. That's okay. Right here, I'll trim that if I want to, or I can go ahead and get it as close as you can. All right, now here's where I left off on my seaming mattress stitch. So I'm just going to carry on with it. If you have found other ways that you prefer to do your mattress stitch and sew your seam together, certainly leave a comment and let me know. When you're doing this, just make sure that you're not catching, don't poke your needle in so much that you're catching the top, right? So I'm gonna turn this over because it's easier for me now this way. But yeah, you just want to make sure, or stick your hand in there if you want to, just to make sure that you're not catching the top of obviously you don't want to stitch the top and the bottom together. That'd be awkward. All right. Okay, now again, I just go up through and I just wind it around and find a place to secure it. I don't tie or knots or do anything. I don't want a knot on there actually, because that might feel kind of funny on your foot. I'm just going to weave this in and around someplace and pull it through and trim it off. So, okay, so I've done my finishing and sewing together of my first sole. Got all my ends tucked in pretty well. Okay, now I'm ready to attach the second one.